If you want to support the channel, click the links below, or put $1 in an envelope and mail it to my P.O. box. So someone has the Comicsgate title. That just doesn't matter. It's almost a non-issue. It's just going to turn out to not affect our lives in any way whatsoever. Title: yes, Comicsgate is anti-sjw. I saw a hashtag going around Twitter. It's every story has its audience. In the beginning, 2001 was the end of the resistance to the SJWs. Clinton was from 92 to 2000, and you had a big pushback from right-wing radio, Rush Limbaugh, and Alex Jones before anyone knew who he was. But then Bush got in 2001, and it was the SJWs' turn to push back. Then a bunch of nut jobs put together a little attack on the World Trade Center, and the world went crazy for a few years. People started to learn who the bad people were. I won't say it, but you know what's up. This was all combined with advances in internet technology that allowed worldwide commonplace communication. We started to hear news and viewpoints that weren't just filtered by far-left media first. People learned that much of the world was a nasty, violent place full of evil people. This created a problem for the SJWs, who had a plan to flood Europe, Canada, America, and replace the people there with people from the Third World. It used to be called a far-right conspiracy theory that only Nazis talked about. Then the media admitted that, yes, that was in fact the plan all along. I don't talk about it on YouTube because all the channels that used to just kind of got kicked off. Because reasons. Some things must never be mentioned or questioned. Anyway, I was reading Twitter, which gives you the opportunity to interact and actually talk to people who are legitimately mentally ill, and I heard a theme being passed around. People are starting to accept the idea of Comicsgate, but they say, but we can't forget how they got their start as an anti-everything hate group. Keep in mind they never get too specific, because if they do, it gives us the opportunity to rebut their claims with screenshots. This kid was saying Comicsgate was an anti-SJW. True, absolutely true. Anti-woman, anti-LGBT, false. We love women and the gays. We were and are anti-specific people, some who belong to those groups. The attacks on Comicsgate have been straw men from the start. These are the same people who refuse to blame Islam for Islamic party times. They don't apply the behavior of a few members to the whole group. But in Comicsgate case, it's even more extreme because, of course, we don't stone women or teach men that gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. You get the idea. But because we've acted like angels compared to the commies who have attacked us, there is a long list of screenshots from the pros, in quotes, in Pussy Comics, and worse than the threats of violence from them are their comics, which are full of racism and sexism. Just garbage. SJWs are the bad guys, and we have the screenshots to prove it. Zach called Mags a untalented man in a wig, which is mostly true. I think Mags does have some talent, but it's buried under ideology. But her stuff does objectively have low sales, and she is a man in a wig who is probably mentally ill, and not because of the trans thing, but because if you ever followed any of her interactions on Twitter, when I say she's mentally ill, I'm talking about mental illness beyond anything to do with sex. I don't want to piss off my one trans listener. The vibe on Twitter is that they have finally accepted that Comicsgate is not going anywhere. Even if we change our names or platforms, the idea is not going away. Look at the facts. The mainstream comics is taking a little siesta, but we are still going strong. We are producing content, comics, shows, live streams. Take a look at IndieCron. It's full of comics that are getting made. Where are the mainstream comics getting made? Yeah, they have digital comics on Comixology. Who gives an F about digital? It sucks reading digital on a tablet, especially not digital by people like Mags. So it seems like the people of soy on Twitter are trying to gain some control of Comicsgate. I know that sounds crazy, but that is how SJWs operate. If they see that Comicsgate is going to be successful in the long term, then they will do anything they can to worm their way into it like the parasites they are. Actually, I don't know if worms are parasites. Well, intestinal worms are parasites. I don't know how long Comicsgate will last, but with the collapse of Marvel and DC, Comicsgate has increased its market share by several orders of magnitude. SJWs see a group of people having fun and immediately seek to take that fun away. because they're total assholes. They see a chat room or live stream and they see people having a good time, telling jokes that offend them, which is pretty much everything except for Orange Man Bad, and they seek to slither in there and kick out the people who made it awesome in the first place. Wow, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? I sure do miss Nurkish. Real shame about that. What happened to Nurkish? It almost seems like we're acting like thin-skinned SJWs. Seems like Comicsgate has lost a lot of people along the way. How did that happen? It's really odd that Captain Cummings is no longer with us. Wasn't he an OG? Kind of weird that the core inspiration for a movement is no longer with the movement. It's like a religion based on a prophet, but then they kicked the prophet out and replaced him with a false prophet or devil. Weird. Anyway, if the SJWs can't stop Comicsgate, they will try to infiltrate and control it. They'll try to divide us and foment discord so they can turn members against each other. I mean, we've done this pretty well on our own. It's like we have our own SJWs in our midst. Anyway, the SJWs will worm their way into Comicsgate. They'll try to use sex appeal, but they don't have any. Maybe if Renfamous had an attitude adjustment. I will need to see what she looks like in a short skirt first. That is my only weakness. What happens the longer the SJW kids on social media go without their comic propaganda? Nothing makes me happier than seeing Comicsgate grow and hearing the of soy boys. I don't think Comicsgate will be mainstream anytime soon. And I'm just going to throw this in here. I know it pisses a lot of people off. EVS pisses a lot of people off. But if that campaign does really, really well, believe me when I say the SJWs hate him more than you hate him. They hate him enough to issue death threats. I don't think Comicsgate is going to be mainstream anytime soon, but I do feel the balance of power shifting, and I know that the pros in comics also feel it. If you follow their Twitter, you can get the vibe. Most of them aren't dumb, they're just racist assholes. I saw this tweet where a guy said, I'm going to use it for the thumbnail, that the SJWs, what they do is called entryism. They worm their way in by saying that Comicsgate are the real gatekeepers and comics are for everyone. And some of the guys in Comicsgate who have a little soy in their souls, yes, and are willing to abandon their principles because they don't have any, they'll look at these potential buyers and start thinking about it. After all, why exclude your audience? The SJWs will pressure the big channels, and you'll get a repeat of when EVS abandoned Nurkish, Sashi, and the other dozen people. Because if you really don't have any principles, then you'll sell out anyone so you can make $1. The more mainstream Comicsgate goes, the more it will cuck. Because you notice it's not like Comicsgate has a motto or any dogma. It started as a response to garbage SJW propaganda and always being free to roast comics and people. I see that becoming less acceptable. I love the Star Wars Vampirella cover, but I absolutely support your right to roast it. That's what Comicsgate is all about. Just speak your mind. I am a little surprised some people got their noses bent out of shape about it. I won't mention names, Malin and Cecil, and I think they're good guys, and they're very helpful. But roasting art is okay. It's only when she cries that it's time to stop. I heard the SJW say that Comicsgate isn't supposed to be political, but I never saw it like that. Comicsgate is a middle finger to SJWs. If you think you can put politics in your comics, give it a shot. I don't care if it's communism or fascism. Give people what they will pay for. Marvel comics were far left and they weren't selling. There is no point to them other than virtue signaling and maintaining IP. And to be fair with Marvel, I think what in DC, what upset a lot of people is that you were taking established characters and just ruining them, which is kind of a double insult because you're ruining them, but you're also saying we're so untalented, we literally cannot create new characters that sell, which is true. They are that untalented. And also, it's a long road to do anything, to build up a channel, to build up a comic book, to build up a following, to sell something. That is a long road, which requires 10,000 times as much work as simply stepping into place and taking, standing on the shoulders of giants, which is what Marvel and DC did, and then they just, I don't know, took their dicks out and started peeing on everyone's head. Sorry, bad analogy. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to send me email, Bianca Zombie 602 at gmail.com, or hit up my P.O. box to send me comics, or whatever you want to send me to take a look at. All right, guys, I will see you all next episode.